Greetings, brothers and sisters, greetings. First and foremost, before we get into this word, we must acknowledge our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through His only begotten Son, Yahushai. For allowing this word to come out, I hope you sincere. Brothers and sisters are truly edified by tonight's word. And we're going to name this word undergoing pain, distress, and hardships. The state of undergoing pain, distress, and hardships. Okay, and what that lines up with, all signs points to the agony of crying and suffering. And in the world that we live in today, a lot of us are experiencing the agony of crying and suffering. It's such a dangerous time in life right now. Life is very unpredictable. Each day has its own mystery. Each day has its own surprises. Just so much is happening, man. You got people that's dealing with the loss of loved ones and friends. You having individuals that have lost their livelihood, their careers, their jobs. You got people that's dealing with health attacks. You have people that's barely hanging on to keep their sanity. Okay, and life can really be cruel if you're not deep rooted spiritually, man. What you see on the screen is a beautiful example of the state of undergoing pain, distress, and hardships. It's many different looks, and this is one of those looks, okay? And we're going to come to you in the book of Job. And speaking of Job, if you ever have went through hardship, a real difficult time in life, like life have just really gave you a bad hand to deal, the book of Job is definitely a book of the Bible that will help you persevere and overcome your darkest, longest days, man. But we're going to come to you in the book of Job in chapter 30. And the verses we're going to focus on is 23 with the point ending in verse 26. Okay. In Job chapter 30, verse 23, it reads, "For I know that thou wilt bring me to death and to the house appointed for all living." Verse 24, "For I know that thou wilt bring me to death." Job chapter 30, verse 23, and it reads, "For I know that thou wilt bring me to death and to the house appointed for all living." Okay, so Job is already dealing with the fact of embracing death. Okay, verse 24, it says, Howbeit he will not stretch out his hand to the grave, though they cry in his destruction." Yeah, man. Verse 25, the question Job is asking is, did not I weep for him that was in trouble? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? Okay, so what's happening with Job in his state of suffering? Okay, he's looking back at the time when he wept for those that were in trouble. Okay, he cried for those that were in trouble. He helped those that was in trouble. He had a compassion for those that were in trouble. And he did whatever he could to aid and assist these people in their sufferings, in their troubles. So the question he's asking is, did not he weep for them that was in trouble? And then the second question in verse 25, Job chapter 30, he asks, was not my soul grieved for the poor? You see? And in verse 26, here's the point. It says, when I looked for good, then evil came unto me. And when I waited for light, there came darkness. Okay? So what you have going on right now is Job experiencing sadness and disappointment. Why? Because no one is returning the pity that he demonstrated in his time of suffering. Okay? So when you look back at verse 26, when it says, when I look for good, in other words, when Job looked for welfare, when Job looked for happiness, when Job looked for prosperity, it says, then came evil, then came distress, then came misery, then came calamities. Okay? So again, keep in mind, this is Job looking at the perspective of him doing good and rescuing people and helping people. And he looking for that same return of favor now that he's in the state that they're in. And instead of him getting welfare, happiness, and prosperity, which he offered to people when they were in trouble, he's getting the absolute opposite, which is distress, misery, and calamities. Okay? When I looked for good, then evil came unto me. And when I waited for light, there came darkness. So what light is it talking about? It's talking about the light of prosperity. Okay? So when he waited for the light of prosperity, there came darkness. What type of darkness? The spiritual suffering, like what you see on the screen. Mental and emotional alienation, anguish, being rejected from others, affliction of the mind and body. Cold-blooded, man. What's the name of the word, man? The state of undergoing pain, distress, and hardships. And it's very important that we focus on this, because a lot of us are going through this, and a lot of us struggling to deal with this, struggling to get a hold of this. And I'm telling you, man, Job is a beautiful example of dealing with the agony of crying and suffering. And my heart goes out to anybody that's going through the agony of crying and suffering, because this is such a state of undergoing pain, distress, and hardship, man. And like I said, if you're not deep-rooted spiritually, man, life can be very cruel for you in the time that you are experiencing this. But I will tell you this, man. One thing, like I said in the book of Job, man, you'll learn what perseverance is all about. You'll learn what it's like to overcome, man, the darkest situations. And if you don't get nothing else out of this word, brothers and sisters, remember this, to always lift your head, reaffirm your integrity, and stand fast. So when you're dealing with the agony of crying and suffering, when you're dealing with the state of undergoing pain, distress, hardship, when you're dealing with mental and emotional alienation, when you're dealing with anguish, when you feel as though you've been rejected from others, when you know you're experiencing the affliction of your mind and body, lift your head up, man. Reaffirm your integrity and stand fast, man. I'm telling you. I hope you sincere brothers and sisters were truly, truly edified by this word. And we give all praises, glory, and honor to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through his only begotten Son, Yahushai, for allowing this word to come out. And hey, listen, man, as we close out this word, again, brothers and sisters, if you're going through it, call on the Lord, okay? Call on the Lord. Do not try to take matters in your own hands. My first thing would be is leaning on the Lord. And if you're not able to lean on the Lord, lean on someone that the Lord is dealing with, someone that has communion with the Lord. Because this is a spiritual thing, you dig? And when that fails, seek professional help if you can, if all else fails. Don't just go through this suffering and trying to figure it out, man. Because a lot of us, like I said, if you ain't deep rooted spiritually, life can be very cruel to you during this time, man. Shalom.